STAKK Nation, welcome back to the channel.
Champions.
You know, I remember the very first time that I bought crypto. It was on Coinbase. Coinbase was ancient back then, and they really just had Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and something else. I think XRP was still on back then for sure. And I remember just browsing through my phone and I'm going, this is incredible. This is something we've never seen before. It's just so new. But I never imagined, I never fathomed how massive this whole thing was going to be over the years, right? On the other side, it seems very clear that there was another group of people who also saw this and they said, wow, this is incredible. This has the potential to take us out, and we have to prepare for this so we can win this battle and stay in power.
It is war.
Right? So this clearly sets a two-lane environment financially. Those who are in power and will do anything to take out crypto to ensure that they maintain that power, whether it's through CBDCs or the current fiat system. And of course, those who are innovators, those who want to see some fairness, those who want to engage with the markets, free markets, and as they rightfully should as well.
Peacefully.
Want to do that. Yes, peacefully as well. But it turns out, as we'll see here, the attack on digital currencies and the crypto space as a whole is something that has been planned well ahead of time, as we'll see in some of these videos that we'll be checking out here today. Where is this video from? You said this was Harvard?
Yes, sir. Harvard Kennedy School.
And so what we're going to see here,
School of Business.
they're doing a simulation, right?
Yes.
The cool thing about this simulation, I think, is that it brings up some very strong points, and we'll talk about it once we watch these videos here. And I think that as much as they call this a simulation, oh man, this is real life.
It's reality. I have to say this though.
Yeah.
When we talk about private-public partnership,
Right.
it's not always intended for something good. You would think that innovation would be something good for the country.
Yeah.
But when you have a private-public partnership that is too pushed towards a specific angle or type of people,
Right.
this is what you get. They want to protect instead of adapting
Their own,
and then expand. Yeah.
Yes. You know, it's incredible because that exact same thing you're saying there, it's actually something that is taught in a safe class.
Oh, yeah.
There's a quote about it. When you leave these things to their own devices, they all become these greed machines. And
The
so
human
on.
factor, right?
Exactly. Well, let's run the first video here, and then we'll pause. And we'll get your feedback on this one, Double O. This is the introduction of the simulation.
Yep.
Right. USD. Let's do this.
This simulation was developed by a group of Kennedy School students who created the scenario, delivered policy briefs, and staffed the principals all week. So to start, I want to briefly explain where we are right now. Today, the US is the dominant economic power, in part because of the strength of the US dollar and US financial institutions. No matter how you cut the international monetary system, the dollar is the primary currency. The US leverages this power to do everything from setting trade policy to sanctioning adversaries. We aim to challenge the notion that the US dollar and the US-led monetary...
You got something there?
Trade policy
Yeah.
and sanctions.
Weaponization of the money, if you ask me. It sounds like that's exactly what I just described there.
system will always retain this lead. With the development of digital currencies, things could change quickly. It's hard to predict the future, but in this simulation, we'll play out one scenario to learn how the rise of digital currencies could reshape geopolitics.
All right. So you get the gist of that then. This will be a simulation, and I think what we'll be seeing here is a scenario where they talk about a Chinese digital yuan, which exists. So as much as they make it seem like this is supposed to be a simulator of sorts, it's very real.
It's
There is
going
that.
on right now. It's,
Yeah.
it's a matter of fact. It's the actual implementation. What, 3 years later?
Right, which will make you wonder what are the chances that when it comes to looking forward, they will not be implementing some of the ideas that are spoken here.
Actually,
right?
I have to say this though. You
Yeah.
mentioned that the U.S. dollar is the global reserves currency.
Yeah.
That's only because after World War II, we made that the case.
Yes.
But we screwed that up after we switched away from the gold standard and we just created the fiat system.
Yeah.
Which-
And weaponized it against people.
And weaponized it against people.
Yeah, so-
Global trade wise and sanctions.
Yeah, exactly. So
Chinese economic diplomacy strategy, while the US and its allies continue to rely on traditional diplomacy tools.
So the digital yuan is centrally issued by the People's Bank of China and fully backed by fiat reserves. The currency is stored in digital wallets, and payments can be made using a number of applications, including Alipay, WeChat, and mobile banking apps. It's based on a two-tier system where the People's Bank of China issues the currency to select banks and payment providers, and then these institutions redistribute it to individuals and to businesses. The banks serve as nodes in a system, confirming and verifying users and transactions through a mutually understood protocol. All transactions are encrypted.
you know what I noticed about this structure as he's describing it right now? Obviously, this is the same structure that we've seen from the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, on how they're going to provision their CBDCs. It's a carbon copy of what China has done here. What I noticed about this system, it's a closed loop system. So China is fully in control of this money. They cannot be capital flight because wherever the money goes, it's
see.
under the control of this structure here.
All eyes on it.
Yeah.
You know what I also felt when I was watching this right here?
What's that?
Oh my God.
What's that?
China's way ahead of us technologically. You're
Oh.
on the WeChats,
Yeah.
you're on just a regular day-to-day app and you can transact.
You know,
Competition wiped you out and you're like, no way.
I want to give you some different perspective on this, okay? I know that people look at this and they say China is ahead of us technologically. But
Alipay, WeChat,
But let me ask you this. When we talk about innovation, right? What drives innovation or who drives innovation?
the private industry, the people.
Absolutely. That's not the case in China.
But the actual technology
Yes.
of the transaction was created by WeChat and Alipay.
Yes.
But the government took it over and now
Yes.
brought it into their system.
Every company that becomes successful in China, China takes over their
Their
intellectual
innovation.
property.
Yep.
And then they also oppress the founders,
Yep.
right? Given this display that China has shown over the past couple years, right? Why would other CEOs continue to go here when they're treated like this? One. Two, this puts innovation and the growth of this innovation, the forward growth of this innovation in the hands of the government now. That does not work,
That's not American.
right?
Yep.
Here's the thing. I think that to a certain extent, America is intentionally behind on technology. This is why. Because if you look at, first of all, when you look at all the innovation that is happening out there in the world right now, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that all of these innovators are from America,
Majority of them actually are nuts
but they all come to America.
for the innovation, for the implementation
Right.
of yeah.
It is in America where ideas
Grow.
spring to life
Correct.
because of the environment where you're allowed to push innovation and all of these things like that.
But
right?
but Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett are busy trying to make us China right now.
Listen, those guys are idiots. This is why they do not invest in Tesla and all these other things that are
Apple,
moving
the other
forward to the
days.
future.
Yeah.
It is what it is, man. But I think that we also have to give ourselves credit because that's one of the ways that we can also fight back. We have to come from a place of confidence when we're dealing with the rest of the world. It just hit me. It's a different perspective, but it's something to think about. Because at the same time, America is so capable globally because they're able to just sit back and let everybody else do the work for the innovation, and then they're able to leverage it to execute on what they want. Right? The government does not have to worry about pushing innovation forward. yes, there are areas where like the innovation is a threat to them, and they're definitely going to be fighting back at it, like with CBDCs and things like that. However, Alibaba, Tencent, and all of these things that these people have structured in here right now, right? 20 years from now, how is it going to look like? 20 years from now, when Elon and Jack Dorsey, right, Square, and all of these guys are combined and able to innovate freely without the restrictions of
on their neck,
right? I don't see how Alibaba and Tencent are going to stay ahead.
Good point.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Little food for thought there, folks. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's push on then. Where are we?
Encrypted, and officials at the People's Bank of China have said they aim to strike a balance between anonymity and national security concerns.
In our scenario, the digital yuan has taken off rapidly and represents 95% of all domestic payments in China. Retail customers have flocked to the currency because of its ease of use.
Isn't this real right now?
This was 3 years ago.
This is real.
This was 3 years ago. They were planning it, and it actually happened.
Yeah, it's already happening,
So
man.
do
That's
not
crazy.
F with China.
Yeah,
Literally,
this is-
don't.
Yeah, this is going on. This is going on.
And reduced fees. China has also leveraged its Belt and Road Initiative network in order to promote adoption within the business community. BRI contractors in the Caucasus, Central Asia, and Africa can quickly and cheaply convert digital yuan to local currency using Chinese banks. In addition,
Quickly and cheaply. Yes, even on Sunday.
Faster than Swift.
Instant settlement. Sounds like Bitcoin.
Yep.
All right.
In addition to this, China has been leading a campaign to increase adoption of the digital yuan across Southeast Asia, expanding the government's influence over the region as a whole. Today, a growing number of retail payments in Indonesia, Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos are in digital yuan. In our scenario, we see that.
You know, when I was watching this and they're saying it was a simulation, when she made that sentence there, this is about body language, right? Just reading people's faces. When she read that sentence there, I don't think that sentence was anywhere in the simulation. I think this was, she knew that this is factual type.
It's happening fast.
Yeah, because
way
that
behind.
was,
Yep.
you saw the skip in her tone there.
Yeah, I was also reading the body language of the guys in the background.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you betray your own country and sit comfortably? By the way, you're not even allowed to sit in front and talk. You just sit back.
Man.
We'll take over from here.
When you're in the crew, right?
They just use you for the service and dump
This
your ass
as a
into the
strategic
presentation.
decision
How
by
do you think
China.
you're dominating? You must have a Judas from everywhere across the world. And that's how you
Bring
dominate.
more countries into its sphere of economic and political influence. So on the stage tonight, you will see a live simulation of a National Security Council's Principals Committee meeting at the White House. The participants will react to breaking news, debate policy options, and try to bring together a set of recommendations for the president. Simultaneously, you'll be able to watch how the crisis is being viewed in the outside world by allies, the media, and the public on the screen. Please note, in tonight's simulation, participants are speaking only in their personal capacities. And so with that backdrop in mind, let's begin.
This is the part where I want to kind of fast forward but reverse at the same time.
Yeah.
She said in their personal capacity.
Yeah.
You're going to see Gary Gensler in this video.
I didn't even think about that.
And you're going to see his personal agenda.
So is Gary Gensler also there in his personal capacity?
Ah.
Which is his capacity today as well.
Which you would see why it's doing what it's doing now. I don't want to say recommend or require.
Yeah.
Please, if you're watching us right now, go and watch this whole video. The title is right there.
Yeah. We suggest you go and watch this whole video.
You will see what's going on right now today was
Yeah.
already planned.
Incredible. All right, so now we have breaking news.
Breaking news.
This is Jane Perlez.
Jen Perles. Why does Jen Perles look so old? Could they not find? Yeah, I said, what's happening, man? I've never seen it. When was the last time you saw a newscaster like this looking like this on TV, man? I love it. I'm not knocking it, but I'm just saying that it's interesting how they decided to humble themselves in this simulation.
I honestly think that part of the challenges that America has right now is that they have refused to let the millennials and the younger generations to take over.
It's okay. They don't need to let us, man. We're here.
And they're not catching up to the innovation. They're not understanding the innovation.
Yeah.
They're not understanding what's going on around the world. They're still living in the world as if it was 70s, the Cold War era. And
Exactly.
they're literally going to war. Like,
listen, we're taking over that stuff, man. We're not worried about it. Anyway, Miss Jean Perles. Let's hear what she has to say.
We are following the breaking news coming in from North Korea, where an alarming new round of missile tests suggests that Kim Jong-un has advanced his nuclear program further than Washington has understood. I'm joined by David Sanger, New York Times national security correspondent, live from Harvard Kennedy School. David, how significant is this test? And is it a big breakthrough?
Well, Jane, just a few days ago, the North Koreans conducted their first big long-range intercontinental ballistic missile test since November of 2017. And what's interesting about this test was both the nature of it and the range of it. So it went about 2,100 miles. It was aimed south. It went over the Philippines and into the Philippine Sea. But what made it even more complicated and more impressive in some ways was that they released a simulated warhead because they needed to show that they had solved the one big remaining problem that they've had so far, which is their warhead could survive re-entry into the atmosphere and land on a target. And once you've proven that, you've basically solved the last major problem that you need.
Yes. You have anything there?
you know, the fraud has not stopped. It's still the same thing. It's always somebody's doing something. We don't want them doing it. Take them out.
Now, here's the interesting thing about this, actually, because I don't think we need to read all this.
This is good.
Because it's very long. What I find interesting about this simulation here and what they're talking about there, I think like that the transition thing went for a bit too long.
Yeah.
Anyway, North Korea, long missile test, something long range missile test, and you ask yourself, how did they get to that point, right? And then you start to realize that because of the sanctions that have been placed on North Korea, this is one of the things that has stopped this nation from developing with the rest of the globe. This is one of the things that has stopped Africa as a whole from developing with the rest of the world. Sanctions or weaponization of the dollar, right? What would you say? Essentially degrading of their currency
through
right?
SWIFT.
Exactly. And so
Not allowed to trade globally.
So when we cross now over into this era of digital currencies, where we're no longer operating on the SWIFT system, where you can now use a digital Yuan to pay for things, right? We can already see that France bought LNG from China.
If you don't know what LNG is,
paying with
natural gas, natural oil, petroleum.
And they do not pay with dollars.
Nope.
I'll tell you that. And France is a US ally.
I'm about to say that too.
Okay. India has so much oil right now, despite the fact that there's, gas prices are going up globally, oil prices are going up globally. India is almost unfazed because they bought unlimited oil from Russia
and selling
at
it to
a
Europe.
cheap price, and they're selling it to Europe, right? We have African nations that are stepping out. Kenya, president of Kenya, watch out for that guy. Something is coming up, okay? But he definitely moved this country out, right? And I think they'll be joining the BRICS nation as well. They've already been engaging in some trades outside of the dollar. And there are many, many other countries that are doing this. Now, the question now becomes, in this case, we see a place like North Korea that we know that, at least as they make it sound here in the West, is hostile towards America. Which is also difficult to be like, well, it's also kind of something that we also have to ask ourselves, why would you not be hostile against someone who has pretty much put your country on pause forever?
Yeah.
Right? Because you have to look at it from both sides. It's not about taking sides.
You have to travel out of the country, just like they make you.
Exactly.
They make everyone feel like Africa is some shit old country.
Exactly.
Have you been to Africa before?
Exactly, right? Dude, and you can go to Africa, and there are people in Africa who do not want to come to America, and people act like people want to come to America. Don't get me started with like the American women and the passport bro situation, where there's like these women who are literally on the internet just insulting every woman that is not American, calling them uneducated and everything out of the book. It just really displays the level of ignorance, right? But the bottom line is, when you are a nation that you have this privilege of being the global reserve currency, right? That comes with some responsibilities.
Major responsibilities,
Right.
which lately we've been abusing.
Yes, it's been abused, and now we see that things are probably going to be going off rails. How do we respond to North Korea essentially having free range now to do whatever? Yes, this could be prosperity for their country, and this could also mean that not just prosperity for the country, they might want to take America.
Over Philippines and exploded on the other side. The only person doing that right now is China. I think it's just smoking mirrors. The big topic here is China. They're just choosing North Korea as the
Yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing too,
Digital
because
yuan,
because
that's
at the same time too, if China was if you, let's say if I was Xi Jinping, right, and I was going to do it, I'll not do it. I'll make it seem like North Korea did it. I'm not doing it myself.
next video.
So,
Because this video
yeah.
is long. We have to cut it short for
definitely.
you guys.
That one was pretty
Yeah.
long one there. Well, let's push on to the next one here. What do we have? Are we doing this one? Yes. we're
Yeah,
doing
let's
that
go
one.
to this one.
All right. So now this is a briefing in the U.S.
Yes.
and some government officials speaking. If you see Baldy there, the shiny head, that's
Our
Gensler.
brand new digital currency czar. This is Neha Narula. You know,
Just
the
let me
president
write
has
this one.
identified
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
being as forward-looking as she is in technology and digital currencies, as a priority for the administration, took the initiative to appoint a digital currency czar, known hereforth as the crypto czar. Could you tell us a little bit, Neha?
I want to just be very clear.
Yes, and she
With
works
all-
for the president,
With all the
Secretary Summers.
principles here, that while we at the Treasury Department, of course, welcome the existence of a currency czar, and we very much
Yes.
believe in the importance of coordination
Right.
in this area.
Do you know what czar is? You know what it is? Like Putin? Yeah. It's interesting how they use it, man. Currency czar. It's like currency,
like the
currency
emperor.
Putin.
Yeah.
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 Crazy. Propaganda.
The preparation, the printing, the regulating, the managing of all U.S. currency is, according to the Constitution,
Correct.
prerogative of
Yes.
the Treasury
Secretary
Department.
Summers, all those
and as we
old
perform that
school
function, we will
traditional
be
currency
delighted
functions.
to work with
himself
the
already.
currency officials.
It's my job. No, it's your job.
That's great. Because we need someone who knows about these current issues and new technology, the president hired Neha. Neha, go ahead. Could you talk to us a little bit about what the digital yuan means? And in particular, how could the North Koreans be using this to support their missile programs and their nuclear program?
Well, thank you very much. And, Secretary, it's always great to talk to you about currency. And, you bring up the printing a lot. So the president really, I think, was really very forward-looking in deciding to create this position and realizing that the fundamental nature of money is really changing. It's becoming digital. It's no longer the paper bills, the coins, even the traditional banking system that we've had. We've seen surface something completely different. And so when it comes to the digital yuan, this has been in the works for quite a while. Even back when I was working at MIT, I know that China has been pushing this forward. And so I can say that it was a great move to start to raise this role and to raise this concern and to bring together all the experts that are spread across various government agencies. Now, when it comes to the way that North Korea can use digital currency, over the past few years, they've been doing all sorts of things to bolster their economy with digital currency. Sending these missiles requires money. And they have been using cyber attacks across cryptocurrency exchanges, banks, and the SWIFT system in order to raise money in order to conduct these attacks. Some reports say on the order of $2 billion.
Yes. What are your thoughts on that one there?
So much from the Tsar.
Carry on then.
The Tsar recognized, even the Treasury recognized that they've been doing so much printing,
Right.
which is devaluing and impacting the dollar itself.
Exactly.
They know that. But even more importantly, they know that money is changing. They recognize the innovation.
Yeah, they acknowledge it.
But they have been sleeping on the wheel. She said while she was working at MIT alongside Gigi, right? Because
Yes.
Gigi is an MIT guy.
Yes.
Gary Gensler.
Yeah.
They knew that China has been working on
on
digital
this.
yuan. But in the meantime, Democrat, Republicans fighting themselves. We decided to come up with that solution with Bitcoin. You
Yeah.
guys want to fight each other? Let us solve the problem.
They know that Bitcoin is also very valid, but they spend all of the time saying that it's useless. Even though they still cannot touch it. So
If you notice in the same conversation, she did not say the technology is the fraud.
Yeah.
They say that the hacking is happening by North Korea. Let's
Yeah.
just call it China and Russia, right?
Yeah.
To fund their governments, to push back. Because, there's a cause and effect.
yeah.
Right? The reason why these guys are hacking, notice she said they're not only hacking cryptocurrency exchanges, they're hacking the banking systems
And the SWIFT system.
and the SWIFT system. Nobody talks about that.
And the SWIFT system. That one got me.
So
Yeah.
everybody's getting hacked.
Yeah, everyone
But
is getting hacked.
they make it
as
seem
well.
as if, the SEC especially makes it seem as if it's just cryptocurrency
crypto.
and everybody,
Hey.
you know the source of the problem, guys.
Here's the thing, though.
You create the problem and then you're trying to find another. Come on, man.
You know who's not getting hacked though? You know who's not getting hacked?
Who's not getting hacked?
Bitcoin.
You know?
Okay. Yeah. Let's keep it pushing, man.
All right, no, that's actually another video.
Yeah. So this is the last one now.
Yeah, let's go to the last video.
And what is this part? Tell us what
This is the part where Gigi opens his mouth.
Okay. So
there
what
are
you hear
actually
from
two videos
yeah.
coming from Gigi's response to all of this.
Okay. Well, let's hear from the financial overlord himself then.
We are not financially dominant. I mean, that is what we are discussing right here. We are in a world. We may already be in a world where we're not financially dominant, certainly not in every sphere. And so we have to think about what do we do the rest of our foreign policy tools. I'm surprised not to hear the Secretary of Defense saying he needs more support for his military, that military action is going to be one of the tools that we are going to.
A point in time when the weapons are no longer a solution. Ain't that crazy?
Wait a second, we are behind. Let's go blow them up.
Yeah, let's go level them up, man.
That's what, but that proves that is what we've done in the past.
Yes, listen, man. They say, if you are a hammer, all your problems look like nails. Okay. So if there is no nails, then what do you do?
Just hammer away.
But the fact that there is no nails does not mean you don't have problems. Your problems can come up in a different form. That is not a nail. But you're a hammer. And you don't see this problem anymore. Okay, let's push on.
To reach for more consistently.
I'll take that too, Madam Vice President. That scarcely does anything about a Chinese currency
Well,
move
I think we have to
with
start
respect.
thinking big. We can't be bogged down. We
Well,
have to
that's
think
thinking
about our
sideways.
intelligence operations as well.
Yes, Madam Vice President. Again, just to remind the cabinet, what I really need to take to the president are options to inhibit North Koreans' ability to develop their missile program over the next 8 to 9 months. So I'm going to go to the Secretary of State first.
How
very
have we
quick,
not
Gary,
talked
go
about
ahead.
covert action?
Yes. Well, we can work on a finding.
So
Go ahead.
while I respect this, Secretary of Treasury says we should harden SWIFT, I frankly don't think that's going to address the real policy, and we're losing the tools. Sorry to say this, Secretary Carter. We're losing the tools. If we keep using SWIFT for secondary sanctions, and on this,
I've been hearing that for 15 years.
but what the
We've
difference...
gotten a lot of good use out of them in the meantime. So
Absolutely, but I think the
I'm
runway
sorry.
is shortening. I think it's just shortening, and we've seen this right here in this circumstance, that North Korea could have evaded sanctions, as the Secretary of Treasury said, just because they can move things across the border. But this new competition to SWIFT is real, so I concur that we should back away from secondary sanctions. And we also have to realize we have to stiffen up other tools, because SWIFT, we're in the waning days of this geopolitical tool. Secondly, as the currency director said,
Czarina, excuse me.
currency director said, is we have been leapfrogged by others, by digital currency, by digital Chinese currency. Why? Because, frankly, our central bank has been slow. And there's an appointment coming in January of 22. The president's got to decide whether to change over who's leading the Federal Reserve, whether we need some new leadership there that can move us both domestically and internationally.
This Federal Reserve conversation has not happened yet.
No, he did.
It did?
Yeah.
No, changing the Federal Reserve?
Well, he didn't change it. They kept him there.
No, they need to change him, dude. I think there's going to be a change. They need to change him. What is going on?
They left him there. Remember, they decided to keep him there?
Oh, no,
They decided to leave General Powell there after they got elected.
They got to fire his ass, man.
But you notice that he himself also mentioned that SWIFT is dead.
Yeah,
like
SWIFT is
literally,
dead.
like I was
It's dead.
thinking, like we are destroying nations. Yes, we know we're destroying nations because they are competing with us. But at this moment, right, the system is dead. Let's find another solution to it.
When we tell people that you have to go and buy Bitcoin, not financial advice, by the way. Can it even be financial advice? Is Bitcoin inside the umbrella of is it under the umbrella of fiat finance advice? What is going on here, man? It's not even an asset. It's not something. Listen, man. Owning Bitcoin is the solution to all of these things, because these people are clearly telling you here themselves. This is a regulator that is supposed to be protecting the investors, right? That's what he's supposed to be doing. And right now, they're clearly telling you that the thing that they're supposed to be trying to protect you from is deteriorating, is failing. Okay? Fiat, which you use for your investments, right? We've seen him continuously. They've wrecked the stock market multiple times.
The Federal Reserve itself wrecked the stock market.
Okay.
They know that. That's why he mentioned in here that they need to change the person in that role.
Exactly.
But the Federal Reserve is constantly destroying the market. They know it. The central banks, they also know that they have been sleeping on the wheel.
Yes.
They're the same thing, really, at the end of the day. And the SEC is saying our tool is gone. We need a new tool. So he himself already knows what his objective was from day one.
Yes.
Strengthen the central banks. And the only way you do that is through CBDCs.
But if you have CBDCs, what is the purpose of the central bank? Because you could just
the commercial banks,
the government can just take over that money issuance itself, remove the Federal Reserve. Okay, that's why I say that I don't think that the banks are even the threat. The person you cannot remove is big tech.
It's coming after big tech right now. We're fighting
He cannot come after big tech. Remember, I was telling you, man, they can release all of his information. He cannot come after big tech. They're going to have to navigate their way carefully around big tech.
Bitcoin is an American innovation, just like the internet is an American innovation. Bitcoin is American as F. We've done a video about this. The solution is not the people creating the problem. The solution is big tech, which is where Bitcoin is basically is.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to say it, but why does the response always have to be war? Yeah. Why is it not, wait a second, let us understand the technology and then adopt?
Right now, you're at a point where you cannot even start a war because nobody can even see the conflict. Nobody knows why you're going to go fire up on someone. So
Internationally.
Go ahead.
Let's go to the next video. I think
this is it for this one, actually, right?
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one here. Yeah, so this is the final one. And let's see.
Gary, you're the assistant to the president for economic policy, have a deep background in digital currencies as well. One of the questions that the president has is, can we definitively say that the Chinese have the ability to see these Yuan transactions that the North Koreans are using? And is it the Chinese government or is it Chinese banks? How much visibility will we have into transactions like
Eric,
this?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have to get at some point in this meeting to a report from these people or Treasury on whether we should have this capacity now or in the future.
That's right. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. We're going to try to avoid some of the tendencies of the Obama administration and not just focus on the problem for the entire PC, but get to options later on. So, Gary, go ahead.
I want to say first what an honor it is to serve with the Secretary again. I served with him once before. I do think that the digital yuan is totally transparent to the Chinese government, People's Bank of China initiated this several years ago, basically to compete in their domestic payment space with two big tech companies, Alibaba with Alipay, and Tencent with WeChat Pay. It was kind of a domestic-inspired thing. You might remember Facebook.
That is now their implementation of FedNow. FedNow to compete with Cash App, to compete with Zelle, to compete with Strike.
Yeah.
That is basically what they're doing now. Again, this is all planned out.
Except I think this is where, and that's a good point there. Where I think it might be tricky as well too. It's like, even though they might come through to compete with Cash App and Zelle, on Cash App you can buy Bitcoin and then exit the matrix.
Yeah. Strike, you can do the same thing.
Strike, you can buy Bitcoin and exit the matrix. It's about exiting the matrix, folks. That's it, right? Is it
No.
We're playing on?
Let's talk about one more thing.
Was also kicking around a digital currency called.
We'll talk a little bit more about that later, yes.
But they absolutely, the Chinese government has transparency into it. With all respect, Secretary, though, I think.
I don't mean to interrupt you. You mean therefore that they did not have transparency into Alipay?
I think that the transparency into the digital yuan is higher. I do think, Mr. Secretary, they have transparency when they wish to have it into Alipay. But last year, they actually made Alipay wallets and WeChat Pay wallets digital yuan wallets. So now it's all the unified.
He's done that. I'm sorry.
Guys, that's it. So when they implement the US CBDC, right, and FedNow, that means the government has eyes on everything that we Americans do. And this is not an anti-American video, by the way, guys. This is to tell you that the American that you and I know is quickly becoming the China that we're all fighting against.
Well, it's a tricky situation for me because as much as we want to be the traditional America that we've always known, right? We are in an age of technology.
Data is everything.
We're in a digital age.
Yep.
And so I think what we really need to be trying to figure out is how we can take the America that we know as it is from the analog or the traditional version of it and implementing that in a digital space. That will mean some things would have to change. Unfortunately, it's one of those experiments that we will just have to live through it to really know and then make adjustments. But the key thing is to be able to always make those adjustments when we find out some things are not working, right? Because otherwise, if America also stays the way it is, we're going to get left behind massively, right? So it's a balancing game, but we don't want to fall into the trap of running down this same path of just total synchronization and control from the government. Yeah. Right.
Because as we can see now, the government always changes. So if you're not a Democrat today, the entire government will be at war against you. If you're not the Republican tomorrow, it's like the government.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm thinking more so like we should keep things open. Like right now, say for example, like all this crazy enforcement that the SEC is coming up with. Enforcement without regulation is insane. I think we should leave things open. Let it play out. Okay, we see that rock pools and these other things are horrible scams. Find a way to eliminate that type of stuff, right?
Specific ones,
Keep the good and build and then iterate and keep cutting out the bad ones so that we can now form this more superior system, right? Not just, okay, we're going to start with locking everyone down, total freaking control. We already know that when they take away your rights, you're not getting it back. They've never given people their freedoms back. People always had to fight for their freedoms. So, any thoughts, sir? I really enjoyed this one. It was a long one, but I really enjoyed it.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, this one had to be long.
Yeah, it's cool, right? Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts, man. As you guys can see, this was all planned. It's been implemented in your face at the moment. And unfortunately, the folks that have created the problem are the ones trying to give you a solution without regulations, without a clear agenda, without clarifying to the American people. The solution already exists. We all know, guys. Just take a moment, read about Bitcoin, you will understand it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, follow us. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below.
Be a champion. Be a champion. Just
we are exactly. We are on Twitter, STAKK, okay, running with the wolves over there, man. We're going to be removing Facebook and we're going to be removing STAKK. Probably never heard people not promote themselves on the platform, have you? This is because these people are associated with some things that I cannot align myself with, to be honest. You know, this is the same type of things that is tearing down our society as we know it, man. When we see some chaotic things that are tearing us apart, I don't think that I can keep representing myself on platforms like that. So it's fine with me. I'll just stay with, you know, Twitter. There's Rumble. You know what I mean? And of course, we're also here on YouTube. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, also Spotify, man. Really gotta crack up that one. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, praise it out.